Welcome to Health is Number One webcast. I'm your host, local family physician, Dr. Craig Wax. We're talking about the origins of COVID-19, or the virus that causes COVID-19 as a disease. It's called SARS-CoV-2. And our special guest expert is Dr. Li-Meng Yan, who is an MD or medical doctor and also is a PhD. She's a virologist and she's studying emerging infections and vaccine development. She used to be in Hong Kong at the university there. However, now she's in the United States as an independent researcher. So she's got a world of experience to share with us. Welcome, Dr. Yan.
Thank you, Dr. Wax. Very happy to meet you.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and training with regard to college, medical school, PhD, and studies, and condense it all to 2 minutes?
Okay, so actually I got my medical doctor degree after the 7-year program of clinical medicine in a top medical university, Xiangyang Medical College, belonged to Central South University in China, which was actually founded by Yale University almost 100 years ago in China. And after that, I went to the Southern Medical University in Guangzhou in China to continue my PhD study. At that time, I worked in the ophthalmology department. So in Chinese training style, I do have like clinical training as intern doctors. And at the same time, I also do the research. So I conducted the research related to stem cell, inflammation, and the artificial material evaluation. Then later, on 2012, after 3 years study, I came to the University of Hong Kong because I'm going to graduate and I want to pursue my research in a better place. So I choose to went to the University of Hong Kong working on such topic. And something happened at that time. So 2 years later, I was allowed to get graduation, not because of my reason, just because of my supervisor. He takes advantage when I work in the University of Hong Kong, and I refused that. So he's angry, postponed my graduation. After 2 years, yes, that happened, a big story. And that's how the Chinese scientists, they want to grab the knowledge from overseas labs. So I'm a good example, but I refused. So later, I go back with another thesis. Finally, I get a chance to graduate, and then I feel I also want to pursue the research in a better environment. At that time, I was invited by the WHO H5 reference lab head, Professor Malik Paris, in the same university in Hong Kong. And then I feel that is a good opportunity because this study is full of challenge, and this is a top lab in emerging disease, including coronavirus research in the world. So I turned to study in virology and working on the vaccine development in the WHO reference lab from 2015. And until I came to US, actually I worked for over 5 years there, and I have my over 10 papers published, have my vaccine patent pending, and also I'm one of the scientists earliest reach into the secret of the COVID-19 in the world.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that. And it seems like you came from where a lot of this began and to where a lot of it crescendoed. That is to say, it came crashing here like it did into other countries. So
yes.
There's a lot of things being released right now. We're getting a lot of barraged with information. You know, originally when we first heard about this in the fall of 2019, there were murmurings in China that there might be something going on in the wintertime. And then, you know, they kind of sat on it for at least 3 months that now we know of. And then by January 1st, they said, hey, I think there's a problem. And, you know, at the time, to my knowledge and understanding, they were stopping all flights across China, but they were allowing flights out of China to all parts of the world, which Well, best case scenario was completely reckless, and worst case scenario was a planned pandemic. And having said all of that, we're now looking at the origins of the virus because originally, it was said to come. It was a bat virus, and it had to cross over at the wet market. And although it's possible, with what the virus looks like and the way the virus acts, it seems more like a virus that was found in nature where they started to change it to see if they could make it have different functions. And then we
Exactly.
find out about all of the gain of function research that the United States was doing. And then 2012, 2013, sorry, I don't mean to take your steam, that it was moved to China, and of all places, of course, nothing against Chinese people, certainly, but against the Chinese government,
Exactly.
who's been our enemy for a long time with regard to, their hostility toward their own people and us. So, can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about the data that shows that potentially this wasn't a natural virus, that this was a virus that had um, gain of function research and had pieces of other viri put on it to maybe attach to human endothelium in the respiratory tract?
So actually, I have presented my evidence, both scientific and also intelligence evidence, since so from the 19th January, I first time reviewed it through a Chinese, very influential
Now,
YouTuber,
was
Miss
that 2020 when you say January
20,
2020?
yeah, 19th
Okay,
January
thank you.
2020. So Mr. Lu helped me to deliver the message through his YouTube, which is the biggest influential Chinese YouTube in the world. And that's why the China government listened to that, and then they immediately realized that someone from inside pointed out the real backbone of the SARS-CoV-2, which is the People's Liberation Armies, the PLA armies. Scientists discovered from East China, from some bat. They called it Zhoushan bat. Zhoushan is a place, and named it as ZC45, and the twin strain is ZXC21, and published at the end of 2017 because they spent years and years searching for a good backbone to make the gain of function product based on the coronavirus, and finally they successfully get it there. So after that, when I reviewed it and I found out the evidence, for example, the smoking gun is at that time, this is the only virus close to the SARS-CoV-2, the most close to the SARS-CoV-2 virus in NIH Gene Bank database. And also, the thing is the envelope protein, the E protein, kept identical, 100% identical between these strains. So it will never happen cross-species transmission, and also during the long-term, the nature evolution. So that is smoking gun, and also the difference between the different segment like S protein or ORF8 or M protein, all these segments, if you compare the from SARS-CoV-2 to this backbone, you will see the change is imbalance. So that means like so the whole genome difference is like 11% difference. But somehow you say E protein keeps 100% identical, while S protein, the dominant functional protein, kept like difference is like over 30%. While the other segment, most of them keep like 4 to 5% difference, which is really inconsistent with the nature evolution theory. So
So
after
what you're
that,
doing
yeah,
is you're presenting the data that's basically telling us that on the whole, this isn't a natural virus. It may have started with a natural virus backbone, but there's been other, let's just say, organs or things put onto that backbone to confer other functions.
exactly. That's why when I tell you China is very cheating, and then they have to respond quickly, like to admit human-to-human transmission exists, and they have to triple the cases from 62 to 198, and also later they have to upload the next day they upload the the dangerousness of the SARS-CoV-2 as the same as SARS-1 becomes the top infectious disease, and also 3 days later they have to conduct the lockdown in Wuhan because they know it's out of control, but somehow they take the advantage of the outbreak and let it spread over the world, which I didn't expect.
So do you have a theory? I have one, but do you have a theory on how it went from a lab study out into the public? Was it an
Yes.
accidental release, or was it potentially a release on purpose to level the economics of the world?
Oh, actually, I already presented this theory, and which is gradually, verified from different sources like Peter Daszak's email, Dr. Fauci's email, and other things. So basically, let me briefly tell people that based on my knowledge to the Chinese Communist Party and my expertise, and also my knowledge, and also very important is I was appointed to do this secret investigation from 31st December 2019, assigned by the WHO expert Dr. Liu Peng, my supervisor, on behalf of WHO, because I have my unique, vast network in China, because my study background, because I speak in Mandarin, because I know the culture. The network involved hospitals, labs, China CDC, local CDC, no matter civil or military. So what I can tell people is this is the virus, I mean the SARS-CoV-2 is one of the products from Chinese government's long-term strategy to develop the non-traditional bioweapon. One of their favorite material is coronavirus because they accumulate knowledge from SARS-1 and later MERS. And this knowledge, what I can tell you, mostly from my lab in Hong Kong.
Hmm?
Yeah. And also China government tried to develop it so they use both military and also civil power. In China, military and civil has no boundary. This is called the military civil fusion project because all controlled by the government. So once they found this backbone successfully, they are happy because you cannot just generate the virus without backbone. That will give you a lot of trouble. This one is good. It's potentially cross-species and also has a urine toxicity was shown in the animal model. That's why,
Okay, so
yeah,
so was it released on purpose potentially, or was it just a terrible accident that maybe they were going to use in the future?
that is intentionally released out of the lab. You know what I mean? The out of lab means this is actually part of their trial. But because this is a different
It
bioweapon,
is a worldwide trial then.
initially it's a local, no, this is two-step actually. The
Okay.
first step, I mean, why it happened in Wuhan. That step is a trial because also according to their theory and also exclude, I examine all the evidence and all the lab accident was actually excluded because I work in P3, I work on vaccine, I know that, right? And finally
So
the
it was
evidence,
intended to be a local trial in China to see who it
yes,
affected, who it killed, and it was whatever
optimize
it was.
optimize the virus and also see the effect. But because their reckless part, that is, they ignore the infectiousness, it's so high. Why? Because they use human ACE2, humanized mouse, to enhance the binding of ACE2 receptor, but this mouse model cannot reflect the transmissibility. I'm the one who writes the transmissibility model on Nature paper as co-first author. That one was published last May. The hamster, golden hamster, is the better model, can reflect it. But if you do it on mouse, you don't see. So they ignore that. They didn't realize it's so high infectious needs. That's why when they try to conduct it in the good environment to optimize, to test it, they do it in the real community and then out of control. That's why it happened in Wuhan. They try to cover up and it become a big outbreak. But the second
So
step
it was basically kind of like a small fire that became a forest fire that
yes.
basically became a worldwide fire.
No, the next step is when it becomes worldwide, that is also intentionally. So the first intention is out of lab intentionally. The second intention is spread to the world intentionally because on 23rd January, when China felt that it's like I reveal the truth and they worry that the world realize that's bioweapon and they realize it's out of control, really out of control in China. They want to hold it, but they want to take the advantage of this virus because it was designed as a novel bioweapon. And it already showed it can work like novel bioweapon to cause mass up. So why don't they choose this timing to spread it to world before the whole world get prepared? That's why at that time, Wuhan locked down, but the victims flying out become the carrier used by China government. And China hold PPE, China spread misinformation. Later, the whole world become messed up.
Right. So let me ask this too, because obviously, if this was a bioweapon, and I don't know what's your thought of Dr. Fauci's NIH and all that being involved in the research, or was that just small information compared to what they were doing? What's your thought on their interaction? Because it was kind of crazy
Yeah,
that we were
actually,
studying this sort
yeah.
of thing in a in a country with an enemy government.
Yes, so that's the thing very important for US people to understand. Because if you misunderstood, China will claim the bioweapons from US. That is what they are doing now. Cheating, cheating, cheating. So actually, China government spent over 20 years and even longer. I mean, you can back to the day they established China and they established the party. They want to do something harm the world. And then this virus actually is when they make sure they want to develop some novel bioweapon, novel, not traditional. So they are looking for the good material. Then they learn that coronavirus is one of the good things, but they also need techniques. So the technology is very advanced in US. And that's why they try to grab US technology. And they
Okay.
want to also grab some money from US taxpayers. Although that is, the
So
money
we
is just
financed
little
it.
piece.
We
You
financed it.
find
Oh
little
my
part,
God.
because China actually put a lot of money, more than you thought, because they recruit a lot of scientists and also bribe the scientists overseas to provide them knowledge. Those scientists, many of them should be in nonsense, and most of them don't know this bioweapon because China government doesn't trust foreigners. So the one understand this secret, including Chinese military scientists and some civil scientists working with them, including the my lab head, the Hong Kong UWHO lab head. These people know the course. I have evidence. But people like Fauci, these people, they were used. Somehow, once things happen, they are worried to get blamed, and also for some other benefit, their own purpose. They like to work with China government. And then they also become the tools to spread misinformation and then harm the public.
Gotcha. So that makes all the sense in the world. Just to summarize, that it was basically our research and our technology, and China worked with us to bring it there, to get our money there, and to get the technology there. Then they could
Yes.
take it, manipulate it, and use it for
Yes.
their own world domination purposes,
Yeah.
potentially. Wow, that's
Yes.
something. Well, let me ask another question. So when it comes to a virus, obviously this one spread very easily. It spread through masks. Masks didn't really do anything. Distance really didn't mean very much. And it just spread through the population like wildfire, which would be an ideal bioweapon if that is indeed the case. So how does the Communist Chinese Party people and scientists prevent from getting it? Were they all on preventatives like
Ah,
hydroxychloroquine, zinc, other things?
so actually, the thing is, initially they don't know that, and they thought
Well,
it's
you would
not a
think
big
before
deal.
they released it, even as a local trial, because you don't know how far it's going to go, they would want to be safe and they're not going to hide underground.
So
Maybe they
that's
did.
what.
I don't know.
No, that's why actually some of the people get sick, but you know how they protect themselves. Let me tell you. First, they really know hydroxychloroquine because hydroxychloroquine was used in the study after SARS, right? Dr. Fauci know it at least 2015, and more people know it early. There are publications. It's safe and it works. So that is one thing, and I can
I
tell you
believe
is yes, they
the
use it.
quote that we found on the internet from 2005 was Dr. Fauci said that hydroxychloroquine acted as both a treatment and a vaccine, is what he had said. And
Yes,
then all of a sudden in 2019, 2020, recanted and said, oh, we don't have controlled studies and we don't know if it's safe. And so that was potentially Chinese misinformation fed to him that he was sharing. Or why did,
I,
what's your
I,
thought?
in China, let me tell you, in China, we can use hydroxychloroquine. We also use other drugs, and including the like the ivermectin,
Oh,
and
you
also
use
we
that
gave
too. Our Merck product, ivermectin. Okay.
yeah, and also they give early treatment if there is capacity in the hospital. I mean, if they want to give you treatment, they give early treatment. Not like US CDC said we don't give early treatment. It's basically like you said, fire you don't control it until it becomes a forest fire. Then you go there. So that's terrible. So these are the two things different between China and here. So Chinese scientists, the smart scientists and the people who really working on this, they know this works, and they even applied the patent back to
Mm.
last February. Said we apply the hydroxychloroquine and also chloroquine for the new purpose as treat COVID-19. And you know what? Chairman Xi also knows this, and we have photo online. He's checking this. And I and Mr. Luder, the YouTube blogger, are the first one in the world to review this. We reviewed it from 29th January before
Wow.
military start to apply the patent even. And so we saved a lot of people. But I think I heard some intelligence is first China doesn't want the US to get treated, definitely. And also some voice come from the party, the people who against President Trump because President Trump talked about hydroxychloroquine and also it's too cheap, no benefits, no profits. That's why altogether later we say even you cannot talk about it online, you will be suspended. So this is more complicated than we thought from the beginning. But in China also they have
So
other ways.
it wasn't just a collection of errors that happened at random. It was sort of a global plan with plan A, plan B, plan C, and a lot of backups.
I think according to our clinical thinking, it's more like China government using their novel bioweapon, which I define as unrestricted bioweapon because out of limitation, right? So they use it to trigger, for example, like you get infection, disease, and in your body there will be uncontrolled those decay, how to call that downstream, serious response. So Fauci's response, CDC response, pharmacist response are more like this kind of downstream response in human body when they get some infection and out of control.
Wow. That's it's literally mind-blowing how you're tying up all the loose ends where everybody had a theory or what they used to call conspiracy theories, and everything that was a conspiracy theory in 2019 and 2020 has all of a sudden become truth in 2021, which is just utterly amazing. So what are the lessons to be learned from all of this? I mean, what should every man, woman, and child know about what happened here and how to have it never happen again?
Oh, that is very important. It's a good question because what I really want people to realize is China is still using misinformation and lies and denial to influence the West. Although you say now Fauci's email shows that he knows, and also NIH direct colleagues has to admit that, oh, I also don't think it's from nature, it should be from lab. But notice they still try to cheat you. They try to drag your attention to some bad virus from East China, which real one found in they try to bring to West China. The real one happened in East. And they try to get you ignore the Chinese military's part. So what they have done is they use the story made up by Wuhan Virology Institute, the bad woman Zheng Lishi's fabricated virus named RATG13. So still you will say, now these days, once people realize it's from lab, most of people are influenced by this misinformation because this build on real information and just generate a wrong conclusion. They try to let people believe this is some bad virus for some good purpose, maybe for vaccine, for study, grabbed from a West cave, and then bring to the lab, somehow jump out by accident. So see what's the difference? They don't want you to know this is military behind. They don't want you to know, except for Wuhan lab, there are many, many other labs all around the China and even overseas they can control, which can produce such unrestricted bioweapon. They also don't want you to know China spent over 10 years to collect not only coronavirus, but also Zika, dengue, Hanta, and Western Nile, Ebola, all these novel viruses from animals to develop their unrestricted bioweapon. So China is still using the denials. The denial, the misinformation, and the lies are part of their information war because in their strategy of this unrestricted bioweapon, general, the bioweapon expert in China, the De Zhongxu has clearly mentioned it in his textbook for military, that this virus must look like from nature. The only thing, the gold standard to identify it between the lab one and the nature one is it inconsistent with the nature evolution theory. But once people realize it, we use misinformation, lies, and denials to waste their life because waste their time, then we can keep doing it to induce the secondary damage in enemies' economic, in enemy social order, finally ruins the civilization. So the death rate doesn't need to be high, can be lower than 2%, but the secondary damage is important. So see, this is a whole story. You as people must understand and they have to do action, not only call for payment. They really need to stop this evil in humanity regime to work again on this.
Wow, that's, the most complete review of everything COVID-19, coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, politics, medicine. That is the most complete half an hour I think I've ever heard. If somebody wants more information on these topics, what would be good places to go, Dr. Yan?
Please show them my Twitter because there are hundreds of fake Twitter accounts pretending to be me made by China government to drag people's attention. But please show them my real Twitter account, which today over 100,000 followers. I keep upload the new information and also emphasize the fact to people. And also in my pin tweet, I show my three publications, the 3 Yan reports. The
Mhm.
first one talk about evidence, show scientific evidence why it's made in Chinese lab by military. The second one show you the fabricated data, including RATG13 virus and pangolin virus, and the Chinese military behind it. That's why it's the unrestricted bioweapon. And that is to show you misinformation campaign. And then the third one is verified some intelligence things and also point to point scientifically refute the criticism from Dr. Robert Gallo's HIV Titan and also Johns Hopkins University to let people know they do it just for their benefits working with China government. All these three together, I put the link in my pinned tweet for people to know it.
Can I also ask, is it backed up on various media platforms? Because, you know, Twitter has been known to shut people down. I was kicked off for 2 weeks here or there for talking about this information last year. You know, various social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn, that differentiates and discriminates. So do you have a blog also or other places to get information from you?
So at this moment, no, but I keep getting interviews online, like Fox News or War Room, and also it's like Miss Mulder's one. And also, even if they suspend my Twitter account, I managed to establish new one. And I hope they won't suspend it because, you know, the Twitter managers are also human. They also face the risk of the COVID-19. So I hope it won't happen. But anyway, I'm here. Until the last minute China government make me despair, I will keep working on telling the truth.
No, well, thank you for so much, because you know what? Courage nowadays is unbelievably in short supply. A lot of people nod their head and they look at the ground and go, oh, somebody should do something about that. And you're actually a person that's put yourself, your life and your family at risk over multiple countries in the world to be able to expose all of the lies, all of the evil plans, and to try and help people get the information so they can make good choices for themselves. And that's hugely important because, you know, anytime a government that gets larger than intended, it's always dangerous, no matter where we are in the world or history.
Exactly, especially when there is dictatorship. It will totally become disaster if we let such dictatorship happen. There will be very inhumanity. We Chinese know it for over 70 years. And I just do it because I'm the medical doctor and I'm scientist. I think people like you really can understand because you are also working hard to tell people the truth and face the risk, the threats, all these things. Without people like yours help, this message cannot be delivered. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And I'm sure we'll hear from you again, Dr. Yan, going forward. And we'll make sure to keep after your whereabouts as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For this and more information, you can go to healthisnumber1.com, spelled in words, health, ISNUMBERONE.com. And you can catch all of our quality programming there, as well as on this YouTube channel. So click like and subscribe, and we'll be back next time with more great information. You can also follow with us on Twitter and Instagram at the @ Dr. Craig Wax. We'll see you next time with another world-class authority right here on Health is Number One podcast. Thank you.